Welcome to the Rise and Shine podcast series, where we discuss filling your own cup, embracing financial freedom, and designing your life instead of reacting to it. My name is 𝔻𝕆𝕝, and it is my absolute pleasure to bring to you today the topic of, are you trying to do it all on your own? So this is a really fun topic for me because the journey for myself, a lot of you know that I am an author, a speaker, and a life coach. And over the last year and a half, my business has absolutely blossomed and bloomed. But prior to moving into this state of flow and this amazing, massive impact that I'm having, it was quite a struggle. There was things like the systems and the procedures, and we had to put all that into place, and that's never ending. I'm still continuing to do that. But what I want for you guys is to get into your flow and start receiving. So for me on my journey, it was really hard because I had this thought process and this, I don't know if you've ever thought this, but I used to think to myself, if I do it myself, I know it's done in a timely manner. If I do it myself, I know it's done properly. And if I do it myself, then it gets done the way that I want it to get done. So perhaps you've heard yourself thinking that in the past as well, or you're thinking it right now. And for a long time that served me, and that might be serving you right now. But if you would like to design your life and create your own business or monetize what you love to do, if you're an entrepreneur, a parent, anybody really, if you want more for your life, we have to look at what we're currently thinking and doing and adapt it, refine it, shift and change it. So I had this thought process and this pattern, and I would take it all on myself and I would try to do everything. I was doing the bookkeeping, I was doing absolutely everything in the business. I was delivering, I was creating, I was doing all the behind the scenes things, I was doing all the front end things. And then on top of that, guys, I was also a mum. My husband works away. Gus is an airline pilot, so he would go away for days on end. So then I would also be mum on top of all of that. And to be quite honest, I was getting burnt out, I was getting exhausted. And then what started happening was that things weren't really done to that high of a standard anyway. So what I decided to do in growing my business and growing and learning my personal development and myself is I started to ask myself the question, will I ever need to do this again? And I want you to write that one down. Ask yourself the question when you're doing things daily, if you want more for your life, which many of you do, all of you, if you're listening to this and follow me, you want more for your life. You may be completely happy in your life and fulfilled, but most of us, because we're of a growth mindset and evolution. If you want more for your life, you ask yourself, will I ever have to do this again? And if the answer is yes, you're going to start to outsource it. So here I was running around, I was doing everything for everybody. I was really exhausted, I was really tired, and I had to ask for help. So for me, the process went a little bit like this. So, we're in the middle of COVID-19 right now. Everybody's locked down. We're not allowed to leave, or we're not supposed to leave our house. My husband is an airline pilot for Virgin, and Virgin has gone into voluntary administration. So what that meant for us was that our main income was just stopped pretty much straight away. So we had to move into my business and start asking the questions and start setting up even more systems and more processes to support the growth and the scaling of my business. So I went to Gus and we had this conversation, and it went a little something like this. In my head, we were discussing about him coming on board and helping in the business, because obviously in our family life, we had to make some shifts and changes in the roles that we both had. So initially, I was working from home, which meant I was responsible for the house stuff. And as many of you know, the house stuff, let's just call it house stuff, is a full-time role. If you're doing the looking after of the children, the washing, the meal prep, the cleanup, the cleaning, the dishwashing, the clothes washing, and just managing I've got two little kids' emotions, that is a full-time job. So in between all of that, here I am out in my office, scaling my business to $1 million business, like in between nap times and sleep times, and they get TV after they eat lunch and things like that. It was pretty hectic. So Gus and I had this role change, and now that he wasn't working, and we were relying on my business and my income. We had a complete flip of roles. So Gus was now in the house, taking care of all that. Not necessarily the standard that I would do it, not necessarily the way that I would do it, but I had to let that go. So that is going to come up for you in the transition over to this way of life, and receiving and really genuinely receiving other people's area of genius, other people wanting to support and help you, because humans do want to help, and it just takes a little bit of tweaking of your mindset. So Gus was then taking over in the house and doing all the house things, and I was out here a lot more. And the resistance that was coming up for me, I just noticed like it wasn't done the way that I'd usually do it. And I set it up in a system and I did it this way because it meant that it was easier. And we woke up in the morning, it meant that the house looked a certain way and felt a certain way. So I had the big vision stuff. So he stepped up and he was wanting to help me. But there was a little bit of an edge on it, because I had in the back of my head an expectation, and I had set a standard that I felt was appropriate. And because I, one, hadn't communicated it to him, two, didn't even really realize I was doing it, and three, obviously he just was doing the best that he could, but he didn't have the vision like I have it. He's not working from home. So I had to first of all receive the help and then have some conversations around why I did things the way that I did, but not from the viewpoint of this is my way, it's the best, you need to do it my way. Because this happened again. I'm going to tell you another story in a moment where it showed up for me in my life. This, I wouldn't say controlling, but this like really rigid belief system of like, I know best. And we all have our own agenda and we all have our own passions. And the important thing to remember is when someone does something for you or around the house or in your work or your business, they're doing it with the way that they think is the best. And very rarely, unless you are like identical twins and have think and speak and do everything the same, rarely you're going to do something the same. But the reason someone else does something differently is because they have a different agenda, they have different values, they have a different language and a different thought process and internal representation of the role, why it needs to be done, how it needs to be done. It's not because they're trying to annoy you. It's not because they're trying to be upset. I'll make you upset. It's not because they're lazy. It's not because any of that stuff your brain might be telling you. It's just basically because they've got a different set of internal representations and a different viewpoint of the job. So, you know, Gus and I had come together and he'd offered to help, and I just noticed so much resistance internally. He was just doing his thing and completely happy about it. So I just wanted to share this with you. So if you're going through it, because I know a lot of you out there right now are going through these role change. Someone may have lost their job or not working for a period of time with everything that's going on, and then you've moved home and you're in each other's space. So I'm hoping that the tools and the tips and the strategies in this podcast can really start to direct you and help you on how to open up your relationships, and in your business, in your life, in your relationships, receive more. But we can't receive more, one, until we've got awareness around it. So we want to have awareness of how much do people actually do for you? Are people coming and offering to do things for you? Or are you the type of person that's just doing stuff for everybody else? Because then that way, if you're the one doing stuff for everybody else, you can control it. You can pick the timeline to it. You can pick the standard of it. But what happens, guys, is the same thing that happened to me. You get burnt out. You spread yourself from pillar to post, and it just is a really hard way to live. And I thought because now I have a personal assistant, a VA who does a lot of my online and a lot of my computer work. I also have outsourced my cleaning within the house. I've been doing that for a few years now. We also outsource the yard. Somebody does the yard. Like, we've done a lot of outsourcing. But it was a really difficult transition for me because I had all these underlying belief systems that was holding me stuck. And some of you might feel these coming up for yourself. So one was the money. Well, wouldn't it just take me, like, it'll only take me an hour or two to clean the house? And I've got to pay somebody. And I so don't think like this now, but I want to share with you what was coming up for me, because I want to fast forward and fast track things for you, particularly if you're a mum and you're running your business from home, or perhaps you have an office, but you've also got a defined role as a parent. And what I wanted for my family and my life was to spend more time, more quality time with my husband and with my kids, not more time with them doing the housework or getting the washing out. So yeah, we outsourced some stuff. And that's one of the first things that I suggest that you do. Just look at what you spend a lot of time doing or any time doing that you don't actually really enjoy, something somebody else might just absolutely love, and ask them to help you with it. And then have a fair exchange. So most of the time it's money. So you could pay the cleaner, you could pay the yard person in cash, but it doesn't always have to be cash. It could be an exchange of a service. It could be an exchange of whatever it is that your need is. If they fill that gap, then that's happened. So that's what we're discussing, receiving. And that's the other thing. If you do something for someone and they offer you something, say yes, please, or thank you. That's amazing. And this goes for compliments as well. It's incredible. When I first learned this, mind blowing. Someone offers you a compliment, and what do most of us do? Most of us, oh, Sally, you look beautiful today. I love that dress. And then Sally often will be like, oh my God, yeah, I know. Or no. And just like reject it or deflect it. I used to do it, and I catch myself every time someone gives me a compliment. There's a little, in that microsecond of me replying, it's like, just receive it. Just say yes, or just say thank you and receive it. And even when I smile and I say thank you now and I fully receive that gift of the compliment they just gave me, there's still a battle in my head every single time to be like, no, I don't deserve that, give it back. So that's what I want to ask you. If someone says to you, oh my gosh, your hair looks beautiful today, or your smile lights up a room, or your eyes sparkle and I love it, oh my gosh, you're a gifted speaker, you can get up there on stage and really move people. But people will say that to me, and I used to be like, yeah, but it hasn't always been like that. I've had to train really hard, and I wanted to go into story and I wanted to justify myself. So what I'm offering for you guys right now is somebody offers you a compliment, smile and nod and say thank you. And regardless of what that little voice is saying in your head, just smile and say thank you. Because you've got to remember the other thing, right? If someone gives you a compliment and you're like, no, and you deflect it and you won't receive it, it's like someone coming up and giving you a beautiful gift. And then you just look at him and goes, well, that stinks. I don't want that. Here, have it back. And you're just throwing the compliment back to them. So just imagine when someone, and it starts with the easy stuff and then it moves on to the bigger stuff. I'm scaling to $1 million business now, and certain things get easier, but there's some things that are always there. And because of the growth process, whatever you've been through over here in the start, you can neutralize all that. We can move through it. But where we're so committed to growth, it continues to show up here and here and here. And guys, if it's not that thing, it's going to be the other thing. So what really matters for all of you is how you're internally representing and taking on the next step in your business and life, whether it be your health, whether it be your health and fitness, whether it be your business, your relationships, whatever it is. We've really got to start to receive on a deep level, because it's an energetic thing. If you can't receive a compliment, how are you going to receive an income from your clients and customers? Even when you're providing a beautiful service that is changing people's lives, how are you going to receive that income? A lot of entrepreneurs come to me and they have a lot of trouble first of all charging and picking a price. Is this you? Oh my gosh, what am I going to charge? I don't know what to charge. And then when we discover that and uncover that for them and go through a system and a process for them, and then next thing there's like, oh, now I've got to actually receive that money and I want to give it back. So many of them are like, oh, just pay me this much, or I'll do a special deal for you. Or yeah, that's really hard to receive. So guys, if you can't receive a compliment, how are you going to start to receive income from your clients and customers? Yeah, I know it seems so simple, but it is so relevant. So let's all start receiving, first of all, compliments. The second thing that we're going to do is notice that those compliments are going to move on to bigger things. And I'm going to get back to the story around Gus and our roles changing, because like I said, it started me receiving in this such deeper awareness. It started many years ago, but I've just been challenged a lot with it now. So Gus is doing a lot more of the house role. I'm out here in the office doing my thing, making a change. And my mentor said to me, well, is it a possibility for Gus to work in your business? And first thought through my head is like, yes, that's perfect. I've been looking for someone to do this, and this. Perfect. Gus is going to come on board. He's going to do what I want in my timelines, the way that I want it, and I'm going to tell him, and it's going to be great. That was the first conversation through my head. And then it was like, hold on a second. You know, that's not going to work. How about you have a conversation with Gus to actually find out if he wants to be part of what you're creating and business outside of supporting in the family unit and being very supportive to me personally. Does he actually even want to be a part of it? Let's double check with that. So we had that conversation and it was amazing. And then I realized, because I was doing the Soul Purpose Month in Purpose Process, that nothing is long sustainable unless you are on purpose and you're excited about it and you're activated. So we had a conversation and I had a list this long of the things I wanted Gus to do. And he was agreed to come into the business. And then the next sort of thing we had to work out, well, what's your areas of genius and what lights you up, and what would you feel really fulfilled in supporting me with and helping me with? See how the conversation is so different, sort of from this directive space, masculine, direct, to my divine masculine. Just never was going to work. Headbutt, 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 headbutt. Anyway, so I approached it a lot softer and a lot more nurturing. And I said, well, what would really light you up in the business? And he said, well, tell me a little bit more about what you do and what you need support with. I'm like, computers and systems and editing and sound and all the thing, which is what I really struggle with. I've got the information, got the content. I've mastered the delivery. I can get this out to you guys really well. I have to get in my head when I start looking at bloody camera angles and the sound. It is not my sole purpose. My sole purpose is to get you the information in a very professional and easy to understand and chunked down manner so you can implement and change your life. But I am not lit up by cameras, lighting, sound equipment, but all that's a vehicle and all that up levels your business. And guess what? Lucky enough for me, Gus is really interested in all that sort of stuff. He's always been tinkering and pottering around with cameras. Like, I used to even actually have a job where he would go out with the drones on a camera and go out to like farms and send the drone and look at the angles and do all sorts of crazy real estate shots and farm shots, photography. So it's like, okay, cool. I'd love to be able to support you and help you with the camera. And I went back into that. All right, now I need to tell him how it's done because I'm the boss and I'm the entrepreneur and blah, blah, blah. Story again. And I just observed what was going on for my head and I didn't say anything. And I just released it over to him to take care of it. And the whole time, guys, my head was fighting. I know the best way to do this. I'm the visionary. I'm this, I'm that. It's so funny when you let people really know what's going on in your head. And I just had to soften and trust and receive. And when I did that, what he helped me produce, because somebody came in their area of genius, which is what he's excited about and ignites him, is far better than anything I could ever have done on my own. So I just want to invite you right now to cast an eye and scan over your life, your business, your health, your relationships, and have a look at where you need a hand. Have a look where the light's a little bit darker and it's a little bit dim and you're not quite feeling it. So for exercise, for example, you might have a friend who is really like into movement and exercising and you struggle to get out for a walk in the morning because you just don't like it. Ring them and ask them to hold you accountable. Ring them and ask them to walk with you. Ask for help. Ask people that love what they do for support and help in the way that they want to give it, not necessarily the way you think you need it. So it's super cool. It's so amazing. It's a really broad topic, but like I said, we're just going to chunk it down and give you a few things to implement immediately so you can really start to open up this heart and open up your receiving. So just as we exercise a muscle, we exercise our receiving energy. And receiving energy is so much deeper than someone just doing something for you. So what I noticed when I invited Gus in to help me out, and I really received that, is that it deepened our relationship. It deepened so much more than what the eye could see. But I had to be open to it. And if I just stayed in this really restrictive state of mind, which I can find myself in fairly regularly, because I feel like business, family, business life, it calls for this structure. It calls for this science, like the body, right? If you do what I tell you to do, it's pure science. Your body will change. But we're sort of, I'm not going to say the word trapped, but we are in this, I feel like I'm in this vortex or in this little in-between area where I'm so intuitive and I'm in so much flow But in order to scale $1 million business, there needs to be systems and procedures and the science and the processes and the patterns. And it's like the weaving of the two. It's bringing in the best parts of the science and the structure and the systems and the strategy, and bringing the best parts of flow together. And what I struggle with is sort of having both at the same time. It's like I'm either off this end in the chart, being pure science structure, and I'm like, do, it's done this way. Or I'm off here in la la land in intuition and flowy. So for me, it's like mastering a little bit of both every single day. But the receiving for me is such an important part. And I want to share one more quick story because I think it might help you before I get off. It was always a dream for me to publish my own deck of pixie cards. So those of you who have just started following me or watching me, I have my first published book, Rise Up, The Soulful Guide to Success. And it's an amazing book. It's an ebook as well, or you can get your hard copy. I have also got my jewelry line, which has gone global. So this is called the Remember Ring, which reminds you of your power. My sister actually channeled that design. So that's gorgeous. Sterling silver, absolutely stunning. We've got the necklace as well. We've got earrings on the way, hopefully in time for Mother's Day. But my dream was to get a deck of cards, an affirmation deck of cards. So here they are here. And the dream was there. Those of you who are just listening to the podcast, I'm just showing all these beautiful, phenomenal, amazing cards right now. So I just looked and I saw what women loved, and they love jewelry, and it's about anchoring you to your truth and presence. That's why I call it the Remember Ring, remembering who you were before all the shit happened to you. You can grab all that from my website. And then I looked around. So the women love the jewelry, and they also I noticed women going to the park or catching up for coffee, and they'd take their deck of cards. And I'm about impact and change and anchoring people into this place of truth and presence, which you'll hear me talk about. And anyway, so I wanted to do a deck of cards, and I thought to myself, well, I can't edit. I don't know how to design things. I'm not a graphic designer. I mean, I could probably work it out, but it probably would be pretty messy. And the other thing is I was going to do all the blurbs. The blurbs are going to be all me sharing 25 cards or 30 cards of me sharing a message. And I thought, I don't want it all to be about me. I want it to be about the community. So what I did was I put the feelers out there, and I went off into my flow in my la la land, and I imagined holding this deck of cards. I imagined seeing women's face light up. I imagined all the testimonials or someone posting a photo of a card saying, I really needed this today. And then I imagined the woman that wrote the card, because I went out to the community and I picked 22 women and men that inspire me, and I asked them to be part of this project and become part of my Pixie family. So all of these women and men did their card, they picked the word, they're out leaving their legacy, and I needed to ask for help. The old me would have just worked so hard. I would have sat for hours trying to work out the design on the card. And as you can see, if you're watching the recording, let me show you another one. These are stunning, absolutely stunning cards. And the designer, who is a friend of mine, did that for me. And why I'm sharing that's my sister, Michelle. If you can't see, you want to go over to the YouTube channel, that's the back, so you can have a look. The why I'm telling you this story, because it was one of my biggest lessons in receiving. I had two beautiful friends who specialize in this sort of stuff come to me, and they knew of my dream, and they'd help me with a few little things. And they said, Di, let us help you. And my ego was up straight away. I was like, what do they want from me? They want something. Because the old paradigm for me in business is that if anyone does anything for you, I believe there's always got to be a fair exchange, or somebody feels ripped off and it's not energetically full. But because of my old paradigm, I was like, okay, they want something from me. So obviously we worked out a fair exchange, what was fair to them and what was fair to me, and they were helping me fill a gap and I was helping them fill a gap. These women went over and beyond what I ever expected. They held me, because usually I'm the leader and I set the container and I hold the container and I do most things. They held me. I remember rocking up one day, and I never even realized I did this, but I shouldered and burdened a lot of people's burdens. And someone had told me something really sad, and I was sad for them about it. And I rocked up to these ladies' houses. They got there for our meeting. rocked up to the meeting. They got their oils out, they got their things out, and they judged me. They didn't say a word, and they just loved me and held me in that. And I thought, that's incredible. I'm doing business the way I've rocked up here for a meeting with the design and editorial team, and they sensed that I was sad, and they picked it up. And as soon as they let me know it was okay to be sad, and they supported me through that, and I received it, because the old me would have just been very stoic and just smiled and grinned and like hard, but people wouldn't tell, and just, blocked off. But they felt it. And they zhuzhed me they had their oils and they had their bits and pieces, and we barely said a word. They finished in their half an hour or something. I was like, okay, cool, let's create. I feel better now. So thankful for that. And then the other thing in receiving was they went over and above and beyond. Just as we were launching, I had some quite intense family things happening, and I had allocated, or they had helped me because they were project managing me too, because anyone that follows me knows I'm a pixie myself, and I need a lot of support and receiving in organization. So they project managed me, and we had the launch day where all the pixies were coming together, and it was going to be huge, and we were having the launch and the pre-sale, and all the pixies were going to be there, and I'd organized the whole thing. But because of the tragic family thing I was going through at the time, I didn't have the time which I'd allocated to putting all the decks together and doing this and doing that. These two women, I've never experienced anything like it. They said, leave it with us, we will have it done. And because I was so busy in terms of my mind being with my family and what I was navigating there, I literally turned up at that event and I was present. I was going through a lot, and they had the whole lot done. It touched me so deeply that two people would go over and beyond. And the hardest thing for me in that process, not now and not then, but a little bit, was receiving it, fully thinking they've just done this for me because they have stepped up over and above, and it literally changed my life in receiving. But the reason I wanted to share this with you guys, because if you don't start receiving a compliment, you're not going to be able to receive the bigger things, like the income, which is going to support you and your family, and hopefully other communities. You can put it back into the community and make an impact. You're not going to receive, if you can't receive it. So we start there. We start with the compliments. If you can't have a conversation with your partner and receive their love and their support in the way that they want to offer it, once again, how can you receive the $1 million business? If we can't receive from our friends and those closest around us, because we're so rigid and trying to keep control and trying to look after everybody all the time and trying to protect ourselves, then how do we receive the bigger things? Because a lot of you come to me, a lot of entrepreneurs come to me, how have you scaled your business so quickly? How are you doing it? Yes, there's a whole bunch of systems, procedures, strategies. I was on a call with my mentor this morning and ended up in tears because we're moving on to the next big strategy, and I'm feeling like I've just done this jigsaw puzzle, right? And there's this big jigsaw puzzle. It's 500 pieces. There's a reflection of the water, and my mind is like, how do I even do that? And so when my mentor said to me, okay, you've done this, now you've got to do this. And it's huge and it's bigger than me. I was thinking I had to I'd bite off this big chunk and just make it happen. But I just done a jigsaw puzzle. And what I remembered, the same as with receiving, is take one little piece at a time. One little piece at a time. Too many of us are trying to do too much. You put that piece in, and if that piece doesn't work, try another piece and another piece. My family and I just did this jigsaw puzzle, Gus and myself and the kids, in probably 5 or 6 days. It's intense. It's 500. It's the first time we did it. We didn't have anywhere to put it. It's like literally on the floor in our lounge room. And it just opened up my mind to the possibility of what is possible. But we've got to break it down into little puzzle-sized pieces. Like when my mentor said, okay, now you've done this, now you've got to move on to this big job. I had to practice my receiving again. I was like, okay, because I went into flight or fright straight away. This is just this morning, guys. I felt my body go all pins and needles. I felt my face go red. And I'm like, I'm being so challenged with this. Why is it? For a few different reasons. I let myself get overwhelmed because the old pattern in the back of my brain is like, swear word, I've got to do, if you could see my face right now, like I'm cringing. I've got to do this all by myself. I've got this massive big jigsaw puzzle that it's going to take so long, and I've got to do it all at once. But I remembered the jigsaw puzzle, one little piece at a time. And here's the other clincher. Here's the other message, right? When I was doing that jigsaw puzzle in there, Gus came out on the last night. He just did little bits and pieces here and there. I was more committed to it because it was a learning process for me. I was really observing my thought processes and my systems around it and how I was accomplishing it and what I was just like totally observing my own everything. And Gus came out, it was just last night, and started to help. And I got really territorial with it. He didn't know this, but I was like, you're in my space. I was doing this and I was doing fine. And I went into like this restrictive, rigid control mode. And he's just so happy thinking he's helping and doing the bits that I didn't want to do pretty much. And I caught myself in that moment and I thought I got a decision to make. I can either stay down here and keep like being a bitch in my head. I didn't say anything to him, or I could just soften and receive his help. I woke up this morning, the whole thing was pretty much done except for probably 8 or 9 pieces, which he intentionally left out so the kids could put them in and feel part of a bigger picture. So what I realized, and this is really what this is about, what I realized, and it's even coming through for me now, I feel like I'm going to cry, is in the receiving Gus's help with the jigsaw puzzle, receiving the children's help with the jigsaw puzzle, receiving the message from my mentor today, receiving so much from so many of you out there. I'm actually giving a gift, giving a really amazing gift to other people when I soften, and I'm going to say let the words, the words let them help me. But when I soften and I open up that receiving, it helps everybody receive. So I'm going, learning so much at the moment, and it was a topic at the top of my heart and on my heart today. So I wanted to share it with you. I hope I've been able to give you some insights and some wisdom to help open up your heart and your receiving muscle, if that's what it is. Just observe yourself, watch yourself. Imagine life as this beautiful, big, colorful jigsaw puzzle. And the times that you're feeling really overwhelmed and really rigid and restricted will be the times when you're trying to do the whole jigsaw puzzle at once and you're trying to do it all by yourself. If that jigsaw puzzle or the deck of cards that I explained, my pixie cards, if I hung on to that and tried to do it all by myself on my own without support, which is what a lot of you are actually trying to do, it would have taken so much longer. My ego thinks it's in check because it might be in control and it might be getting secondary gain and payoff here and payoff there, but it would have taken way longer. It wouldn't have been as fulfilling because I got to share it. I got to share the celebration with the kids and Gus. I got to share the celebration of these pixie cards with all the pixies and the 2 incredible, amazing women from the design and edit team that actually helped me birth them, to birth the cards, to birth the puzzle. I got to share. If I did it all myself in this hard, direct way that I learned when I was swimming, and I only had myself to rely on, and I had to do it all. I had to eat well. I had to do it all by myself. I just had to rely on myself. Then I might have got there, but it definitely would have taken longer, and it certainly would not have been as fulfilling as being able to gift back to them by watching their joy, by witnessing them open up and learn how to receive. My kids are receiving without realizing it. My husband is opening up and receiving more as I start to soften. And, in hope that I can help, I'm receiving from my mentor and mentors. I've got a few business mentors, personal train, like physique mentors, that the best in the industry. I want to be the best. I want to master my body. I want to master my business. I want to master, my relationships. So I'm always showing up as the fullest version of me. And I want that for all of you. You don't have to be as intense and committed to it as I am. This is my value. This is my growth. This is what I was literally born for. This is what I was born for, guys, which is, you say to me, how do you get so much energy? How do you do it all? It's because I'm on my soul purpose, and I just witness everything I think and I go, how is that serving me? It served me up until now. Is it still what I need, or do I need to change that thought? And never make yourself feel bad about it. That's key as well, because you're only doing the best of what you know right now. And when you know better, I believe you will do better. So I really hope this podcast has been helpful for you. If you've got any questions or anything, please reach out. You can catch me on Diane McKendrick, Facebook or Instagram, or www.dianemckendrick.com. You can pop in and visit my website. That's where you can get all the jewelry, or send me a PM. We'll get you sorted with all your beautiful jewelry, your cards. My sister sells cacao, ceremonial cacao, which is also really beautiful and helps with the receiving. Actually, I should mention that before I go. I have the Michelle Ann Soul Healer cacao, and what that does, it's ceremonial cacao from Peru. Guess what it's about? It's receiving, opening our heart, setting intentions. And the last couple of times I've sat with the cacao, it's plant medicine, and had my warm cacao, the intention I've put into it is like opening my heart, receiving at a really core, deep level, instead of having this armor on where I've got to do it all myself and do it all by myself, and it's all got to be the best and the whole jigsaw puzzle done at once. And, break it down into bite-sized chunks. Separate things, put the blue up here, the pink up here, the green here, or whatever way that works. Ask the people for help. Receive the help. Witness and have a look around at who's actually offering help, and it's disguised, because some people are going to be offering you help, but because it's not your language, you don't see it. So I really want you to have a look around today and see where you've been receiving in your life, see where you've been holding it off, and invite you to open up that heart, invite in the receiving energy, and just notice what happens and what unfolds for you. Because it's magnificent. I feel it all for you right now, just the energy, the vibration, the listening to this call. You will notice, if you go back and listen to the beginning of this podcast, how I sound and feel right now is very different. And that's because, just so you all know, I didn't really want to do this before I jumped on. I've had a hell of a morning, but I've got it in my schedule. I got it in my calendar because I'm committed now to the schedule. At 11 o'clock every Monday, I record the podcast. My brain was telling me, you've had a hard morning. You can't do it. What's your topic? Oh, you're scattered. You're going here, you're going there. And I've got a plan here. Did I follow it? Who knows? But it's about you guys. It's about what I can offer and showing up even on the days, when I perhaps don't feel like it, because it's not necessarily just about me and how I feel. It's about you feeling like how I felt this morning or how I felt 10 years ago. And because I'm committed to this, and this is the growth work, that I can show you and help you and guide you and take you out of that pain and show you the way. And then obviously you have to do the work, but you're already doing it. If you are listening to this, you've started the work. You've started one piece of the jigsaw puzzle. And then as you're ready, the next piece will appear. And then you'll see that my newsletter comes out. Add yourself to my mailing database, and you get a newsletter with information in it and free content in it every 2 weeks. And then after that, and you're feeling the call to do more of this type of work, you'll notice that I run extra support webinars over the next couple of weeks. And then you can start that. And then you'll be looking through and you'll see that when everybody can get together, we run retreats and we run workshops, and maybe you could move on to that. But you don't have to do it all at once. Just look around, see what feels right for you right now. Witness your thought processes and your feelings and question them. Continue to question them. Continue to show up even when you're sad, even when you're lonely, even when it's hard. Not even when, particularly when. It's easy to show up and turn up when your makeup's all right and you're feeling great. It's harder to turn up when your face is red, you don't have any makeup on, and you're just like, oh my gosh, where do I go to from here? So I want to honor you all in this journey. You're all doing amazing things. Let's receive this week at a really deep level, and just sending you all so much love. And I'm looking forward to seeing you all again on here next week. Mwah.